The average American is losing over $12,000 every single year just to keep a car on the road, and most people don't even realize it. Transportation is one of the biggest hidden wealth killers, quietly draining your finances month after month. In this video, I'm gonna break down the real cost of owning a car in 2025. You'll see exactly why it's so dangerous for your wealth and how a few smarter choices can save you thousands of dollars every single year. And stay with me until the end because I'll share 4 overlooked strategies that can cut this expense dramatically while still letting you drive something reliable. I'm Chris and welcome back. Before we dive in, tap that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future breakdowns like this one. Alright, let's jump in. When we look at where our money actually goes each month, the pattern is pretty consistent across most households. Housing is first, transportation is second, and then taxes, food, utilities. On average, transportation alone accounts for roughly 1/6 of the total household spending in the United States. It's started to grow and rise 7% starting in 2023 as inventory returned and more people got back behind the wheel to go to work. Housing usually takes the biggest bite, and it's fairly predictable once you've signed a lease or locked in a mortgage. Transportation is different. It swings wildly because it's driven by a lot of decisions that you can control. What kind of car you drive, how you finance it, how far you commute, how many cars your household keeps, and even how often you shop around for insurance. That's why 2 people with the same income can end up in completely different places financially 10 years from now. Transportation is one of the largest variable line items in a budget. Let me put a few reference points on the table so you can benchmark your own situation. In 2025, the average monthly car payment is about $745 for new vehicles and $521 for used vehicles. That's before you add fuel, insurance, maintenance, registration, and parking. If your payment is significantly higher than that, your transportation line item can likely carry more risks than you think. Insurance has also been a moving target. After double-digit increases in 2023 and 2024, average auto premiums continued climbing in 2025. Multiple industry sources put the national average for full coverage in the ballpark of $2,100 to $2,600 per year, with state-to-state variation that can push you much higher or lower depending on where you live and your driving profile. That single category can represent several percent of a household's budget all by itself. Fuel has been a rare bright spot this year. The EIA expects regular gasoline to average around $3.10 per gallon in 2025. And they project that what drivers spend on gas as a share of disposable income will drop to the lowest level in about 2 decades, which would be below 2% on average. That's helpful because keep in mind, even when gas is cheap, your total transportation costs can still be high if the rest of the categories are oversized. Location matters too. Rural households typically devote a larger share of after-tax income to transportation than urban households. More miles, fewer transit options, and often multiple vehicles to cover daily needs. And the commute times aren't trivial. The average one-way commute sits around 27 minutes, which adds up fast in wear, in fuel, and time you can get back. So when I say transportation can be a silent wealth killer, that's what I mean. It's not just one bill, it's a cluster of choices that compound together. The vehicle type, the loan terms, the insurance, miles driven, even how often you check the rates. Get those choices right and you keep more of your cash compounding for you. Get them wrong and you can easily bleed thousands a year without noticing. Quick pulse check in the comments, what's your all-in transportation number last month? Loan or lease plus insurance, fuel, maybe any maintenance? If you don't know, estimate it and come back with the actual figure when you've added it up. Even if you don't mention in the comments, it's really good to know your numbers. Seeing those real numbers from you guys is always eye-opening and it helps everyone benchmark where they stand. Here's the real issue with cars. They're not just expensive because of the sticker price or the monthly payment you see on the financing agreement. They're expensive because of the layers of costs that come attached, and those layers stack year after year in ways most people never really calculate. If you think about it, you don't just buy a car. You also take on depreciation, registration fees, interest if you finance it, fuel, insurance premiums, routine maintenance, and the occasional unexpected repair. When you add those together, the cost of transportation becomes far larger than most households realize. And here's the critical part. Cars are depreciating assets. That means almost every single vehicle begins losing value in the moment you drive it off of the lot. In fact, most new cars drop somewhere between 15 and 20% in value during the first year alone. By the time you've owned it for 5 years, it's not unusual for the car to be worth half of what you originally paid. So when you think you're investing in a car, you're really parking your money in something that is guaranteed to decline over time. The numbers put this into perspective. According to AAA's most recent data, the average annual cost to own and operate a vehicle in the United States has climbed to just over $12,000 per year. That figure includes payments, gas, insurance, maintenance, and all other costs bundled together. And the trend is definitely upward. Cars are not getting cheaper to own, especially as financing rates have stayed high and insurance costs have surged. Now let's translate that into income terms. If you earn $60,000 a year before taxes, spending $12,000 of that just to keep a vehicle running means that 20% of your gross income is gone before you've even paid for housing or food or anything else. That's 1 out of every $5 you make. And here's why that matters. When such a large percentage of your income is locked into a depreciating asset, it crowds out your ability to save and invest. Instead of those dollars compounding for you in an investment account, they're disappearing into something that's worth less every year. That single decision, overspending on transportation, can hold you back from reaching financial independence for decades. To make all of this more concrete, let's walk through a realistic scenario. Imagine you're buying a 2019 Honda Civic. It's not a luxury car, and it has a reputation for being reliable, and it's one of the most common vehicles on the United States roads. For a lot of people, this feels like a sensible, middle-of-the-road choice. Now let's add up what that actually costs. Over a 5-year period, the total cost of ownership for that Civic comes out to roughly $46,000. That includes the purchase price, the insurance, fuel, maintenance, and all the other related expenses. Spread across 5 years, that works out to about $9,200 per year, or around $760 per month. Here's why this matters. In 2025, the median household income in the United States is about $74,000 before taxes. That means just keeping that Civic on the road absorbs more than 12% of the average household's entire income. And remember, this is the modest car. It's not a brand new luxury SUV, it's not a large pickup truck, and it's not something financed with zero down at today's higher interest rates. If instead of a Honda Civic, you opted for something larger or newer, the percentage of your income going toward transportation could easily double. That's the difference between 12% and 25% or more of your income gone before you even think about housing or food or saving for investments. It's also worth pointing out how these costs scale. If you're in a 2-car household, you can essentially double those figures. That means instead of $46,000 over 5 years, you could be looking at $90,000 or more tied up in vehicles alone. Much of it lost to depreciation, fuel, and insurance. So even when the car seems modest and practical on the surface, the numbers tell a very different story. Cars quietly pull a huge share of income away from long-term wealth building. All right, so let's get into some good news and what you can actually do about it. The first strategy is to buy at the depreciating sweet spot. Don't buy brand new. Look for a car that's already 3 to 5 years old, where the steepest part of the depreciation curve has already hit. That way, you avoid the fastest drop in value, but you still get something modern and reliable. Second, look at how many vehicles your household really needs. If you've got more cars than drivers, selling even one can immediately cut down registration, insurance, and also maintenance costs. That's money you can redirect into saving or investing. Third, never just let your insurance renew automatically year after year. Put a reminder in your calendar once a year to call your provider. Ask if they can lower your rate. If they don't, get quotes from at least 3 competitors. In many cases, you'll find a better deal with the same coverage. Fourth, minimizing financing whenever possible. The less you borrow, the less interest you'll pay. If you can save and pay with cash, that's ideal. If not, aim for the largest down payment that you can reasonably afford. Fifth, optimize fuel use. That might mean consolidating trips, carpooling when possible, or considering a fuel-efficient hybrid if it makes sense long-term. And 6, learn some basic maintenance. Changing your own oil, replacing an air filter, or even learning how to swap out brake pads can save you hundreds each year. Multiply that across decades and it's tens of thousands of dollars in savings. Here's a quick question. Out of all these strategies, which ones are you already doing? And which ones do you plan or want to start? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about opportunity cost. Now this is where the numbers really start to matter, because every single dollar you avoid spending on transportation isn't just money saved, it's money that can start working for you. And the impact of that shift is far bigger than most people realize. Let's run through a simple example. Imagine you're able to trim car expenses by $8,000 a year. That could come from driving something more modest, paying off your loan faster, cutting insurance costs, or maybe even reducing the number of cars in your household. On the surface, that looks like $8,000 freed up. But what happens if you consistently invest that money instead of letting it disappear into a depreciating asset? If you took that $8,000 every year and invested it into a diversified portfolio, earning a conservative 7% annual return, which is roughly in line with the long-term historical average of the stock market, in just 10 years, you'd have over $120,000. Stretch that out 20 years and you're looking at nearly $400,000. Keep it going for 30 years and the number climbs to $900,000. And And this is the silent effect of compounding. It's not just the money you save today, it's the growth of the money year after year stacking on top of itself. Overspending on cars doesn't just drain your checking account, it robs you of the future gains that money could have produced if it were invested instead. This is why opportunity cost is such a critical concept for wealth building. When you see a luxury car in your driveway, it's easy to think of it as a status symbol, but financially, what you're really looking at is a trade-off. The hundreds of thousands of dollars in future wealth you've given up in exchange for that vehicle. And here's something I want you to think about. If you had the option to own a car that impresses people today, or to build financial independence that changes your life tomorrow, which would you choose? Because the mindset shift here is what separates people who stay stuck from those who build real long-term wealth. For some people, the ultimate solution isn't just about finding a cheaper car or negotiating better insurance rates, it's about rethinking transportation altogether. That might mean choosing to live closer to where you work so you can dramatically reduce your commute. Every mile you cut not only saves fuel, but it also reduces the wear and tear on your car. It lowers the risks of accidents and preserves the car's value by keeping mileage down. And of course, time is money. Cutting an hour of commuting a day means you're reclaiming 5 full hours every single week. That time can be redirected towards your health, your family, or even a side hustle that generates more income for you. It could also mean leaning more heavily on alternatives like public transit, biking, or ride-sharing services instead. For example, if your household currently owns 2 cars, but you can realistically get by with 1, the savings are immediate and powerful. You'd eliminate an extra monthly payment, a second insurance policy, duplicate registration fees, and a second stream of maintenance costs. That decision alone can free up thousands of dollars every single year. Now, I know the idea of moving closer to work or giving up a car sounds like it comes with trade-offs. Rent might be a couple $100s higher in a more central location, or you might give up the convenience of having an extra vehicle. But when you weigh that against the ongoing costs of fuel, higher maintenance, depreciation, and insurance, the math often works out in your favor. It's not just about dollars you save, it's about reducing complexity in your financial life and freeing up more of your income to put towards things that actually grow in value. So let's bring it all together. Buy your car at the appreciating sweet spot instead of new. Shop around for your insurance every single year, reduce the number of vehicles that you own if possible, and give serious thought to how your location impacts your overall costs. Even applying just one of these steps can save you thousands of dollars annually. If you combine buying smarter, insuring smarter, owning fewer cars, and living closer to where you spend your time, you can completely change your financial trajectory over the next decade. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed today's video, like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.